Well everyone, it's finally here. After 7 years of development, Silksong has finally arrived. And holy shit, if it wasn't worth the wait, I'm not sure what else would be. I can't think of a more anticipated, more hyped release. And who'da thunk a game like that would be from an indie developer? These days, probably everyone. And what a shift that shows. It wasn't long ago that the AAA titles were the ones that everyone was excited for. And now, what was the last AAA studio to release a game people wanted so badly that the Steam store crashed the moment it was released and Humble Bundle ran out of codes? Believe me, I know that one from experience. Not even the yearly Call of Duty releases pull numbers like that. But even outside of the big mainstream games that the normies know about, what was the last Western AAA game that you were excited enough for to buy day one, or even just buy full price, and then didn't have to worry about whether or not the price was worth the experience? I can tell you exactly what mine was. No, this doesn't count. I'm talking brand spankin' new. It was Space Marine 2. And you know what? That game kicked absolute ass. And you know why? Because the studio gave gamers exactly what they wanted. They respected the fans of 40K, of which I count myself, and didn't try to whitewash any of the darker elements of the world. And it was an outright blast to play. But it was so lauded because of the very fact that it stood against the grain of boring, poorly optimized games full of ideologies that I don't want forced down my throat when I'm trying to rip alien heads off. Titles like Baldur's Gate 3, Clair Obscur, and now Silksong are proving something that AAA studios have been fearing for quite some time now. They're becoming irrelevant. And that's not exactly a bad thing. Ultimately, we would hope to see that lead to bigger and better titles that have more of what gamers are asking for. I realize that is a pretty damn big hope there. You see, money talks, and bullshit walks. But sometimes, money does walk. Like when the bullshit seems to do a bit more talking than the money would like to hear. Gamers are proving to the industry time and time again that what the AAA studios are pushing out is not what we want to spend our hard-earned money and preciously dwindling time on. Tell me, why would I want to go and play Dragon Age the Veilguard with its divisive politics, simplified gameplay, boring story, and soulless world when I can load up Silksong or, hell, the first two Dragon Age games? The BioWare of today is not the BioWare of yesteryear. People come and go, and inter-office politics play a part in the entirety of the game-making process, and it leads to boring, generic, corporatized games that no one actually wants to play, but the investors are convinced will bring in the buku bucks. You know where none of that is literally any problem at all? On indie teams, like Team Cherry, who are the real heroes of this brief analysis. You know what comes with corporate offices and investor input? A lot of room for greed and money-hungry practices. I refuse to buy a game that is $70 out the gate. AAA studios have done nothing but polish up their turds with pretty graphics, but still somehow have the nerve to ask for more money for their pinched-off loaves. And now some are thinking they can ask $80? If a game company wants to charge $80 for their game, they can get used to poor numbers until summer sales come around. Even then, no one wants to buy their products because they suck. And then here comes Team Cherry, borderline silent for years as they worked tirelessly on Silksong. At the time of writing, I'm not terribly far into the game, but the quality is already completely evident. Holy shit, man, these animations, the art, the mechanics, it's all polished to buttery perfection. So tell me why a dev team of 3 is able to put out better work at an actual fraction of the cost of some of these big studios. Randy Pitchford, one of the founders of Gearbox, the makers of Borderlands, recently came under scrutiny for some of his remarks on the potential cost of Borderlands 4 being $80, because 3 was just so wildly good that they felt they needed to be paid more for it. Basically saying that if they did end up charging $80 for the thing, that real fans would find a way to pay for it. I think you lost several people on that would have considered themselves real fans before that. So while the biggest names in the industry churned out shit that they feel merits $80, Team Cherry comes along and charges a whole $5 more than they did for Hollow Knight. Silksong, a game that was tirelessly and lovingly crafted for years, is only $20. There are games I felt strongly justified their $60 price tag. Silksong could have asked for $80 and it would have been justified. But when you don't have corporate greed ruling your every choice and the only thing driving you is genuine passion, money is an afterthought. And that is something the AAA devs very decidedly don't adhere to. So the next time you wonder if generic shooter or assassin game or Star Wars game is worth the price tag, I just ask you not to forget Silksong. Look at that! look at that! This shit is phenomenal, dude! I am a huge fan of animation, and I absolutely love this style. It's simple, but it tells everything it needs to very quickly, which is absolutely key. Everything flows so well, and time was taken to include extra frames of animation depending on movement and placement. That's hand-drawn, by the way, all of this is. And it's so tightly designed, too. Not only do all the designs look and feel great, they all work cohesively in a way that makes every area and enemy feel unique, but still believably contained within the same fantastical world. And speaking of areas, the detail added into the art and design of every zone is incredible. You make your way through a kingdom that has long since fallen to ruin, and we're walking through all the weird shit that comes along with that. Around you are landscapes that blur the lines of reality and look alien yet captivating, while others are bleak but somehow still mysterious. Every area you're in exists for a reason, and they all tell a story completely wordlessly, but still present nonetheless. It all results in a game that keeps you engaged while still existing within the small little world that's been created for Silksong. In a world where AAA devs still think open world is as big of a seller as it used to be, open world now has a connotation with giant worlds full of fucking jack shit to do. Of course, there are contemporary examples that do it well, but I think these days people are rightfully wary when they see that open world tag on the store page. It would seem to me that the zeitgeist on that is changing, and gamers are beginning to like tighter, more linearly crafted experiences. And that is the correct answer. And all of that is just talking about the art direction. Mechanically, the quality is just as high. The game itself feels great to play, with great field of movement and combat. Like any Metroidvania, you gain abilities as you go that you can utilize during combat and to access new areas while traversing the map. Everything feels fluid and well built together. The map and game itself is like a puzzle to be solved, what with all the hidden areas to find and abilities to be utilized. Simply put, playing this game is a joy. And how many games have we seen come out with bloated dev teams that look and play like absolute dog shit? In a sea of shit that all feels and looks the same, Silksong has come along and shown how uniqueness and charm can outweigh hyper-realistic graphics that don't work, and corporatized nonsense is actually very bad for the consumer. With Silksong, Team Cherry focused on what gamers are primarily interested in, and that's just having fun. There's no deep moral lessons being outright shoved in your face, there's no divisive politics or virtue signaling or grandstanding. It's an escape into a tiny, dark little world inhabited by bugs. Finally, I want to talk about one of the best things, in my opinion, to come out about all of this. Silksong was not given out to games journalists for review before release. Games journalists are possibly one of the worst things about gaming, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. It's not uncommon practice for review copies and advertising money to be held if sites don't give good reviews to AAA studios' games. It's a source of a lot of misinformation, lies, and outright corruption. They are a blight on the hobby, and anything that basically tells them to shove it gets an A+ from me. So while I think it is an absolutely great thing to see, it's kinda sad just how much shame Silksong levels onto big money dev studios. But it's been a long time coming, and hopefully the success of this has ripples that make their way all the way to the big name studios. It's expecting a lot from people who have time and time again proven that they don't actually care what gamers think or want or know, but maybe, just maybe, this will change the paradigm amongst people in such a way that they vote with their wallets and stop overpaying for overproduced, underdeveloped, buggy pieces of shit. Thank you for stopping by and listening to my rant today. If you liked it, I humbly request you leave a like. And if you made it this far, I think that means you liked it at least a little bit. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts. I'd love to hear what everyone has to say about this. And finally, don't forget to subscribe. I am so close to my 500 sub goal that it might have already passed by the time this goes up, but it'll be appreciated regardless. All that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!